And all right, so now we will get started with our education session for the day. And today we have Sebastien Borget with us from Sandbox. He's the co-founder and CEO of the Sandbox decentralized Metaverse, a virtual world where players can create, play, own, govern, and monetize their experiences using NFTs and Sand token, the main utility token of the platform. Sebastien is also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance in 2020, a nonprofit organization of 500 key members of the industry. He was recently named as the number 4 in the top 100 2022 most influential people in crypto by Cointelegraph. And the Sandbox has been featured in Time 100 as the top 100 most influential companies of 2022 by Time Magazine. So we're excited to welcome Sebastien. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and hi everyone. A pleasure to be here with you. I don't know if everyone is the 10 people connected reflect the 10 people audience, or if there's like some live stream somewhere else. But essentially, I'll try to give a brief short overview of what Sandbox is, generally speaking. And then I like to jump more into like a presentation we have related to avatar interoperability, more specifically on how we've been bridging several avatar collections to Sandbox, since it is one of the core topics that is being discussed within the Metaverse Standard Forum and this group. So, you know, we are also one of the founding members of the Open Metaverse Alliance. We have been very vocal and supportive toward like creating an ecosystem and a framework where users are really at the center of the value proposition. And essentially the mission behind Sandbox is like, how do we empower the creator generation to develop that new form of digital experiences and entertainment, and leverage true digital ownership to make a living, to earn revenue based on like how they create, how they contribute. Our definition of the metaverse, the way we see it, is like metaverse is this myriad of virtual worlds and platforms. So Sandbox is not a metaverse, and there's a single platform or world is not just one. We are part of it. And what differentiates the metaverse from what we've seen before in terms of like virtual worlds and platform before is the idea that users can take their digital identity through that form of avatar, as well as all their digital content, belonging, wearable, equipment, content they created or they earn, and they can use them across any of those virtual worlds and platform in a total seamless manner, without having to ask the permission to a platform. So they can exchange it to other users, they can monetize it and sell it on marketplace if they wish. So it's really also at the core of like how we want to position Sandbox and how we push all together toward the open metaverse. We feel like the metaverse will still be in majority user built by users, so around user generated content. We think like 99% of the content will be built by creators themselves. So that's why it's important for us to develop a file format and tools that are like very accessible to creator without any specific learning skills before. That's why we chose Voxel, both from like the aesthetic, but also they are like some sort of digital Legos. You don't need to read the usual manual. Anyone can become a creator, and Voxel is quite universal in its representation and acceptance. Also, our game maker is no code, so that reduces the barrier, the entry barrier to anyone to become a creator. You don't need to learn English. You don't need to have gone through like specific school or studies before generating content. We also want to bring like more like culture that comes from like the story, the brand, the content that we're familiar with in a physical world, that includes like music artists like Snoop Dogg or Steve Aoki, that include brands in sport like Adidas, or in fashion like Gucci, or in music like Warner Music, or even in gaming with Ubisoft. All those brands that we're already familiar with, we want to find them again in our favorite virtual world and places. and start to interact with them and play with them in a new way. You could actually own official content from those different brands and use them to mix and remix, creating your own adventure, your own stories and places that are accessed by this avatar. They are all avatar-centric experiences where users can own, can build, can play alone or together, can socialize, and can potentially earn a revenue from this activity as they contribute to the value of those platforms by spending time in them, by being present, and by populating them. We use blockchain technology natively. So blockchain provides us the level of trust, of transparency, the proof of who is the original creator, who is the current owner, and what is the digital scarcity of any content that include avatars, lands, content like experiences made by the creator and content credits that are sold on the marketplace. And as such, it developed a whole digital economy where the value is not constrained into one world only, one platform only, but can move freely from one world to another, contributing to creation of millions of digital jobs, decentralized finance, and ultimately decentralized governance of that world by the people who build and run it. One of the strengths of Sandbox is that we are global. We're becoming a global nation. We're very multicultural. We work to bring like the culture from different regions from the world through the brands, through the content, and by appealing to those brands, we are also appealing to their fans, to their local audiences who could find then an interest to discover and enter the metaverse, to play, to interact, and possibly to stay or become creator. That's why we have brands from Korea, from Japan, from Hong Kong, in media, in music, in fashion, in sport, etc. That also contribute following this idea of like creating a world where all the content can mix. Creates a very unique world behind, like you can see a little bit behind me, in case you haven't played Sandbox, where it's not just one IP, it's not just the Sandbox brand itself, but it's really the content from all those different brands that gets mixed up and create this whole like modern Disneyland park that we think like contribute to this vision of a very diverse, inclusive, and culturally rich metaverse. So at the core, it's all around like being able to play with your avatar or alone, diverse and immersive experiences from any device. It doesn't need to be VR or browser, etc. Sandbox right now is desktop, PC, and Mac. We'll come to mobile, but all the content we can find in Sandbox, we are also already seeing other application games that use it to do it mobile AR and so on. So the idea of the content being accessible and usable on any platform is starting to spread. We want anyone to become a creator with no-code tools. And ultimately, we feel it's essential that people not only feel rewarded with social fame for the content they create, but feel they own the content and they can earn from their activity online as player or as creators. Something that makes Sandbox quite unique is also our map. We have this finite map of 464 lands in total. We haven't sold it all from the beginning, but we sell it progressively. So we started in 2021. It's been 2 years already. We sold about 70%. And we introduced new neighborhoods progressively. So it's still the same finite number, but we almost like urban planning, we develop new neighborhoods where people can buy virtual land, become the neighbor from other brands or their favorite project and communities. And it creates a new social layer. Basically, it's a new way to discover content. It's a new way to access with your avatar as you walk with your avatar from one land to another, and to develop your presence beyond just one place into other with your neighbors as a community. And it works very well as we curate those experiences and those neighbors based on music artists, celebrities, fashion, and region of the world like K-verse, Turkeyverse, Britishverse, etc. We can find already in experiences in Sandbox. So as a platform, we're still in beta, not everything. So the tools, the creation tools are available, the marketplace is available, the map is available, but we haven't fully opened the player side. So we will this year in Q3, anyone will be able to publish on their land and experience to make it accessible. And in the meantime, what we've done is we've been curating events with content from creator or brands, and you could find like social hub, dance club, music concerts, architecture and housing, tourism, art museum, gallery, as well as education, events, and games. One aspect that we feel is essential is the notion of digital identity. So we are pushing hard to like position the avatar as really the gateway to the metaverse. It's the entry point. Everyone understands that I need an avatar to start like interacting with others. It's free. It's easy to create your avatar. And you can also own an avatar that is an NFT unique from your favorite official collection from brands and IPs. Like we launched the Rabbit collection, we launched Care Bears, we launched Snoop Dogg, Steve Aoki, and so on. But we also work to show that we're supporting more than 45 of the most popular NFT collection already, part of this Web3 ecosystem. That includes Moonbirds, Bored Ape, Cybercoms, Clonex, World of Women. And we are turning external content that was not created into Sandbox straight into a 3D asset, animated, using the metadata on that file that we read from the blockchain, and we recompose to have a character, and then that character is a VXM file, voxel plus animation, GLTF animation, that then can do like many in-game action. They can walk, run, jump, fight, and also like dance with many emotes. Right now they come with 70 animation, but as we add more and more emotes, they can do more things. So they take life as character instead of being images, and it's been a strategy that's been really great for attracting more and more users, showcasing that like the metaverse is adding value to a lot of Web3 project and game, and a concrete example, a tangible example of interoperability. In the same way, some of the Sandbox avatar are already playable in other applications. So we've seen application like mobile AR games, Flick Play, OVR, Jadu, use voxel file of Sandbox to let people play on their mobile with them, take pictures, take videos, and share moments. And we wish to bridge, again, as much as possible around those worlds. Our ecosystem has been growing. We feel like we're just the platform. We provide the tools, we provide the infrastructure with the content, the land, the avatars, and ultimately people should be able to do what they want, to build their experience, to create their content and use it in Sandbox. All right, so that's roughly speaking, like short presentation of like high-level presentation of what Sandbox is. And today, more specifically for our audience, I'd like to share a second presentation, which is more focused around like avatar interoperability, how we're working to bring those avatar to life. Here, can you still see the video? Yeah. So here is an example. As you could see, there was Bored Ape, World of Women, Cool Cats. They were some of the few collections that we introduced last year during Alpha Season 3, but we kept on going, so having more and more. Yeah. And so the way for us is really to enable access of those collections using blockchain and Ethereum, ERC 721 or ERC 1155. We recently added as well Polygon support to detect those collections on chain, if you're holder of one of those NFTs, and as such give you the ability to preview the 2D to 3D conversion of your avatar, play with it on the browser, and if you select it, go and play with it within the game. We provide all the tools and process to voxelize your collection. So far, it still works in when a partner approaches, we start to educate their teams on what they need to do, etc. The ultimate goal is like self-service. So basically, we'll have a dashboard, you plug your collection, you upload your different models, parts in Voxel, and it will generate the whole collection for you. There is no need to remint an asset. So we are not creating duplicated token on the blockchain, we're really leveraging the existing information that is on chain. And it's all seamless since you use just the same wallet to connect to the sandbox. And that allows you behind to all the utilities that Sandbox provide, like you can create NFT gated events, saying like if you have an experience, you can restrict access only to the owner of this avatar community. You can create reward system, engagement system, and more. And we're working to add more fun features like leaderboard, transformation of avatars, etc. So we typically share a video that's roughly 30 minutes long that explain how we building those, how to upload the content, etc. using our key software called VoxEdit. It all starts from a template of avatars. Right now it supports two sides. So we call it human, which is like 2 blocks tall, like you can see right now, and then a tiny human, like think of like rabbit, Care Bear, Smurf, like half size of them. And we wish to support more like taller and various size over time as well. Why different size? Why those size templates and white templates? Essentially for collision boxes, when you are in game, you want to ensure there is good 3C and like you don't get bumped into a weird thing, and making sure as well that it uses the right animation on one side and the other like for equipment. So because on the marketplace creators, they are creating like, I don't know, swirls, shields, backpacks, shoes, etc. You want to make sure like the point where they attach on the body part of those characters makes sense and it doesn't create like glitched characters because of their shapes. So that's been for us an important aspect. Also, like we want everything to be previewable. So we use 3GS as a technology to render everything in the browser. And the next iteration of the tool will soon allow even to test all your equipment directly in the browser. So without downloading our game maker. We've already done launches of those collections. So usually it comes as a package. It's not just like, hey, here's your avatar, you can play with it, but we tried to create a whole event about it. So here's your avatar, you can play with it. Here is a place where you can play. And if you do play, here are some rewards by that community. So giving a meaning to interoperability, putting it into context. And we've done that with World of Women already, or with the Rabbitars by Playboy. And of course, with Care Bears, Dead Fellas recently. So let's play a video. People are really enjoying that diversity of characters. They find they are mostly cute. They're starting to really enjoy, like each collection comes with something different, which is not just the aesthetic, but we try also to innovate on like the utility in game. Can they have like special 3C or action like double jump, triple jump? Can they dance in a special way? But also with the way like they are animated. So moving a bit forward, like we spend a lot of time to improve as well and drive sales for those collections. So in a way, because those NFT are more than just images now, become 3D character. You can play with them, you can get rewards. People are ready to buy them more. From Sandbox, it goes to OpenSea, and on OpenSea, like we've seen, like the volume of transaction and the floor price has been rising. So it also generates revenue in form of like secondary royalties for the partners collection. So it's a win-win in any case. And then we've done funny marketing activities as well. Here is a partner called Genie, for example. They have like They have like those mobile browser enabled, where you just dance in front of a camera and it automatically maps the movement of the human first on the 2D plane, and then reapply it instantly toward your avatar. Pretty cool tech that also makes, again, like interoperability more tangible for most users. And we wish to develop that even more with like all the partners and members of the Metaverse Standard Forum, and of course of the Open Metaverse Alliance, which we are part of. Here, I don't know if you can see well, but something like moving out the mouse over on your mouth already show you the 3D model, which are sorted by collection. And as you click, you get immediately the 3D preview behind, which is, I think, quite cool as well. And all the content is on IPFS, so decentralized storage as well. We've seen more engagement when people are playing with their avatars. If you compare like playing with an avatar from an NFT collection that you own, has been like increasing the engagement, the number of quests you complete, the time you spend, and eventually the retention. Like we're getting, well, 10 to 20% points more of increase, which makes sense. Like it's your identity, you're taking from one place to another instead of like starting over. So there is really a proof that like playing with the content you own is as important and as positive effect for the whole industry. And that's why we were so attached to show that this is a win-win-win strategy for everyone who is involved. That's it. Happy to get in touch with us if you have any question, and if you want to participate as well into bringing any NFTs into Sandbox. Vice versa, we'd love to discuss as well how we can make Sandbox and our file formats available for you. Like it's all pullable on an API of our NFTs, but we can work how you can parse the VXM file and GRTF file that we provide. And if there is any specific adaptation of workflow, as I know some project move into like OBJ file or I've seen a few others recently. I've seen VRM in your report. I've seen GOXB, I think. So we try to work all around. Some are not open standard, by the way, so it's a bit more complex. And keep growing the Open Metaverse together. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Sebastien. Yeah, appreciate all the information shared. So now it's time for questions. So if anyone has any questions on the topic Sebastien shared, so we have Aditya raising his hand. Feel free to unmute and come up, Aditya.
Yeah, thanks, Sebastien. I think that was an amazing presentation. I have two questions, and forgive me if one is outside the scope of this forum. The first one is, I'm aware of the activation that Genie had done with the, where they do the body tracking. So I was wondering, are you thinking of building a pipeline where you have, I know voxel characters don't have a concept of a skeleton. So do you have something where if there's a library of animations available either in Unity or Unreal, which are skeleton driven, are you thinking of building a pipeline which converts that bone rotation animations to avatar rotation animations in Sandbox? And the second question, I mean, you can feel free not to answer it. We just wanted to know, because you're probably one of the longest standing metaverses out there on IPFS. Is there any surprises to the cost of doing something so large on IPFS over a long term, or a performance cost or a monetary cost? So that was just something we're curious about, because you're probably the largest implementation on the planet on IPFS.
Good question. Maybe I should track that. We didn't realize it. So there is obviously a cost to like data storage, and that cost is in two parts actually. One is we use I think we use Infura from Consensus for the storage on IPFS itself. But then there is a caching layer. So we use Cloudflare as like the CDN, and we found something pretty cool with Cloudflare actually, that I'm not sure every CDN supports. It's basically they can cache content from IPFS to serve it back through like traditional web routes, which has been pretty efficient and cost saving as well for like the bandwidth. I'll look with our team on the details of the cost, etc. I have like the blended idea of our infrastructure cost. It's not crazy because now that it gets cached and ultimately Voxel is pretty light as a file format. So it doesn't transfer gigabyte of data for every game. So, but that will grow over time, of course, when we get 100 million users, I'm sure. It's a real question behind. You can also run your own IPFS nodes as part of like contributing toward this decentralized network. And that might be an approach for cost saving over time. Around skeleton-based animation. So it might be a bit too technical for me as well, but what we have in the pipeline is to be able to support importing and exporting animation from platform like Mixamo straight into a model of Sandbox. So basically we have successful tests where you can buy straight on Mixamo an animation and put it into by any avatar or content. So that I think is great because it will bring much more animation than doing it manually, IK or frame by frame. And also, it's part of our strategy that VoxEdit as a 3D voxel modeling and animation tool. It's not meant to be just for Sandbox. And maybe that's something that might have been confusing people, but we started to develop it even before we started Sandbox itself. And so we're very attached that like it could be used just like Maya, Cinema 4D, 3D Studio Max by any game developer, creator, or even Metaverse or platform for their own purpose to build voxel content and ship it out there. That's why we want to make sure it can import and export more format, that it can support key actors in the workflow pipeline for production, like Mixamo, etc. And we're also eager to take a lot of feedback and feature requests as well on it.
I don't see any hands or questions in the chat. So yeah, Sebastien, so what I did try Sandbox like last year and had a chance to like play around with Magica Voxel and VoxEdit and went through the whole pipeline of creating that voxel avatar and bringing it to the marketplace and actually putting it in a world. So with that, is your plans to stay from a format standpoint with Vox and VXM? I know you expressed interest in supporting other formats. Is there a timeline that you're looking at making that available? Because, for example, right now, a lot of folks are like exploring GLB, VRM formats. So what timeline would you say that Sandbox would be interested in exploring that?
So that's a good question. About VRM, more specifically GLD, etc., and FBX as well. So VRM, my understanding is built on top of GLTF, and it's going to be open source, so that might make things simpler. And I wish we will be supporting. I think we can be supporting in a matter of few months. That's already on our roadmap. Regarding FBX or the other format, I'm less familiar, so I need to ask my team about it. But we wish even someday like people can mod VoxEdit and have importer and exporters and add your own if needed to support it. Yeah, and then the first part of the question was.
Yeah, like I was trying to understand, like, let's say if somebody has, like a model in FBX or GLB or VRM, one part is like, we need to like convert to Vox to support it currently in the current interface. And second one was the timeline that you answered, like probably around 3 months, where would the format be natively supported in Sandbox?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, VRM is the first one that we have planned. And for the rest, I will wish to see if we can support more progressively. Like again, we are really based on like what the community wants and needs first, and then we are following it over time. So feel free to make suggestions.
Amazing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
So, yeah, so I'm not really familiar with NFT and blockchain and stuff. So you mentioned there's a network called IPFS that can host files in decentralized way. Is that correct? So
Yes.
like, is there any chance that the contents hosted on the IPFS will be lost, like maybe deleted forever? And in that case, you only have the token that connects to nothing, right? But is there a chance that could happen?
So to be honest, we never know. Like we never know like what happens if one day like all data centers get wiped out or else storage. Like the promise of like IPFS is like it's a decentralized network storage of computer, but it's not replicated across like the whole network, every content. So it's only replicated across a few nodes. So it all depends on one, the reliability of like those nodes over time. And indeed, like if like there is maybe ourselves running several copies somewhere, like we normally we do backup everything somewhere on like sort of more centralized storage like Amazon EC2, but well, again, I hope that it's more resilient as the storage than just pure copy of data into a single data center or multiple data center or cloud hosting in centralized world.
I see. So, thank you. And yeah, thank you for your presentation as well.
Thank you. I was thinking one more thing, maybe like right now, Sandbox, we're still using voxel as a representation and all avatars in voxels. Ultimately, we are not against the idea that there will be other forms of graphic and shapes of graphic in Sandbox. Like we already spoke with the team at Ready Player Me for quite some time, having like low poly or other 3D models. Why not now? Because first, well, like the engine we're building on with Unity, we need to make sure like it is fully performance optimized. And two, it's all about building an identity yet. And like before we include and we are very diverse in any representation, let's make sure people already understand what's Sandbox first by itself. So it's something I have in my mind that I want to be able to do at some point. And I hope that realistically in like 2 years, 3 years, once the interoperability bridging is mature enough, like we could represent characters from other worlds into Sandbox too.
I see. That sounds interesting. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, Sebastien.
I put in in the chat my email. If you have any other further questions, don't hesitate.
Amazing. And is there like any yeah, I think there's a question in the chat which says, is there a Vox editor API SDK will be available for developers? Is there like any documentation link or materials that you can share?
Not yet API or SDK. I need to check like how it works on that side. But yes, ultimately the way to enable like modding and content and creators or developers to make their own import and export plugin will be around that. Okay. And any suggestion, if you know an existing like API framework or API model that you recommend to follow, because then it's easier to implement. It's already compatible. I'm also keen to take.
Wonderful. Any other questions? So we have 13 more minutes. Yeah, you can either raise your hand or post your question in the chat. So,
sorry, I thought it was a 30-minute presentation, so I wanted to be short and sharp, but if it's 1 hour. But again, like if you have any question coming up, don't hesitate. My email is there. and we'll be happy to work with you on those topics and formats and API.
Amazing. Thank you, Sebastien. Yeah, and yeah, I'll probably like transition now. And I know you mentioned you are available for 30 minutes. So yeah, so if anyone wanted to do follow-ups, please make note of his email.